Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print, the Force is with the readers, and we return to 1980 for the next of the Russ Manning newspaper strips. I'm your host, as always, Nathan P. Butler. This time we're looking at a story entitled Bring Me the Children. Now this, in theory, because of that title, you would think it could either be a dark, deep story where the Empire is for whatever reason going after children as a way of getting at the rebellion or getting what they want from a particular planet, or it could be the flip side. It could be something more like a Droids or Ewoks type of story where it's all cutesy and it focuses on children as the main protagonists. What we get, unfortunately, is something much more towards that Droids and Ewoks end of the spectrum here. It's a story that you can find in the pages of Classic Star Wars The Early Adventures number 7. Ran from late February to late April of the year 1980 in its original newspaper strip form. The plot is pretty simple. Basically, the Empire comes to the planet Herix, and in order to basically stop any rebellion sentiment, to get what they want from the planet, they decide to kidnap the children at this school run by a woman named Majoris. They capture her, they capture all of her students except for one. Turns out the student that they don't capture is her son, Bird. Yes, Bird is the word, apparently. Bird is the hero, or could be the hero of this story. Bird, a young man who apparently is burdened by something wrong with his head, so he wears this hat. That, or it's just bad taste. Actually, I think it's probably just the bad taste side of things here. So, Bird, wearing his sort of quasi-Shriner's cap here, goes and winds up hooking up with Luke and Leia and them because they are in the vicinity on a rebel mission. In fact, the mission itself was much more humanitarian than we would usually think of with a rebel mission. It's not looking for new spies, it's not trying to get new information. They're bringing basically these little micro books, as they call them, to the school. So they are directly involved with it. It makes sense for Vader to have targeted it, but still, Vader is just kidnapping a bunch of kids and their teacher as a way of getting at the rebellion. Hopefully to pull on their heartstrings as opposed to just doing it out of sheer cruelty. In any event, the kid, Bird, winds up going back with the rebels, and he comes up with a plan. Not Luke, not Leia, not the rebellion. The kid comes up with a plan to somehow save his mom and the kids. And when the Rebel Alliance isn't necessarily going to put their full might behind this kid's plan, even though Luke's kind of thinking, gee, some of the stuff this kid keeps saying seems like it's based on intuition that could be the Force. Yeah, Bird may be Force sensitive here. They decide, well, if the rebellion's not going to necessarily do it, we're going to go and find all these pilots that have been working kind of with the rebellion from time to time, these different smugglers and scoundrels and such, including, of course, Han and Chewie, and we're going to basically embarrass them into helping. Like, well, you know, if I can get one of them to help, the other ones are going to feel as though they have to help too because they don't want to be shown up that they're just cruel and heartless and won't help the kid, or they won't take on the mission because it's too dangerous, even though someone like Han would. So it basically goes in there and it's like, hey, you big meanie, please help us. You know, if you don't, you're a big poo-poo head. And they decide to help. It's really a ridiculous way of getting these characters involved. Again, the entire thing plays out very, very cutesy. It's like you'd see on a Saturday morning cartoon show where the kid apparently knows everything, the adults know nothing, and the kid has to essentially shame the adults into finally doing what is right. Very, very against the grain, I guess, of what we see in a lot of modern Star Wars tales here at this point. So in any event, they go to the planet, they wind up rescuing the mom, and rescue all the other school kids right before they're about to be blasted by an Imperial named Major Raz, R-A-H-Z, who is a Gekti, this guy right here. And in the process of it, they wind up reversing some of the parts to this sonic weapon that they're about to use on the parents, or about to use on the kids and the one parent, and the Gekti gets behind it, he's ready to shoot, and when he pulls the trigger, it's the classic cartoon, somebody's reversed something in the weapon where somehow a weapon that's designed to shoot that away, when it's got certain things reversed on it, winds up shooting this away, and it winds up zapping him and destroying him. Yes, somehow the beam or the energy comes out the back where there seems to be no ejection point. It just kind of, I guess, goes through the weapon itself, and it's like conducted by the metal of it. Again, very, very sloppy, very kiddie type storytelling here. But zap, and he's gone. The day is saved thanks to the little kid who is more brilliant than anyone else around him, including Luke and the others. In a sense here, it makes him appear to be the one that's competent, everybody else not so much. Although at least this isn't like many of the recent Timothy Zahn novels, except for Scoundrels. I'm thinking of Allegiance and Choices of One, where the guest characters are the ones that are competent and the main characters are flat out incompetent and inefficient. They don't present Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie here as bumbling so much as just they're not the ones who come up with the initial idea. That brilliance is left for Bird, hopefully inspired by the Force rather than a kid being too smart for the adults. As you can already tell with my attitude here, this is not one of my favorite stories. It's one of the ones that kind of grinds against my soul from this particular comic series. Not only because of that story aspect to it, but also because apparently in this story, Russ Manning forgot how to use the word imperial. If you're talking about an empire, the empire is the noun, correct? Yes. And of course, if you have something that is said as an adjective, or something even as an adverb, they don't see it as much, what is the word for it? It's not empire, it's imperial. It's an imperial ship. We'd like to avoid imperial entanglements. Oh no, it's imperial stormtroopers. He apparently forgot how to use that word, because constantly in this issue, and just this issue, or just this storyline, he's using the word empire instead of imperial. So for instance, we have up here, good. Han's note says the Empire trap has been neutralized. Not the Empire trap, dear. The Imperial trap has been neutralized. We have Darth Vader, for instance, at one point. It can only be the Rebel Alliance. Alert all Empire forces. No, Lord of the Sith. Alert all Imperial forces. Again, for some reason, it's like that word left his vocabulary just for this story, and it makes the dialogue, which already feels kind of kiddie, feel really, really clunky. I'm hoping it's not because they wrote this with kids in mind and just thought that kids were too stupid to be able to understand that Imperial referred to something that is from the Empire, especially since they used the term in the films that supposedly assuming the kids would have been able to see before reading this comic book. In a lot of ways, one that is one of the more flawed stories in Russ Manning's run. So, is this story an essential story? Okay, no, it's not. Like pretty much all the Russ Manning stuff, it is not an essential part of the Star Wars saga, nor an essential part of the Star Wars saga of this era. In this case, though, also, I can't even say that it's necessarily a good read, or an odd read that's just kind of fun to check out, alongside not being essential. This just is not that great of a read, and it's not essential. If you got the chance to read the classic Star Wars The Early Adventure stories, this is probably one to skip if you're looking for single issues, though it will be found in the trade paperback with the rest, so you will get a chance to experience it. Thankfully, it is followed by a much better story, and we'll check that out in the near future when we come back to the newspaper strips. For now, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the readers.